Grand Rising. As you clean your body, as you become healthier, your nervous system becomes more sensitive to toxicity. And as you become more sensitive to toxicity, as your body becomes more sensitive to life, sensitive to what is good and what is bad, what is desirable, what is healthy and what isn't, you will inevitably become less tolerant of anything toxic. Now, you could very, very easily mistake that lowered tolerance for weakness. And here is where this example comes in to demonstrate to you that that is not the case. This is an example almost everybody watching this can relate to. I smoked cigarettes for 4 years, and I remember, not in full detail, but I do remember my first cigarette. This was back in the university days. I was 18 years old. It was my first year in university, you know. You are experimenting, you want to party, or you want to be cool, or you want to experiment with different things. So I wanted to experiment with cigarettes because I was studying with friends that I made, you know, university friends, and we were studying, and they would always once an hour or so would go for a cigarette break. And you know, at first I wasn't too curious, didn't really want to try it, but eventually, you know, I wanted to. So I remember my friend, I remember exactly who he is, and he offered me a cigarette, and I'm like, yeah, let me try this. And I took it, I sparked it, I took the first toke, and I coughed. I coughed. My system reacted violently to the toxicity. It has a low tolerance for these very toxic substances. And I thought, well, you know, at the time I thought, well, this is bogus, this is bullshit. I don't know why people do this. This is very overrated. I did not like the way I felt. And maybe days or weeks passed, and I wasn't really interested in having another cigarette. I didn't want to experience those unpleasant feelings of coughing and violent reaction in my body to the toxins. But, you know, days and weeks passed, and I had another one. And I had the same reactions. But perhaps a little less severe, a little less violent. And time went on, and I smoked more, and I smoked more, and I smoked more. And before you know it, I began to buy my own packs, because in the beginning I would just get cigarettes from my friends. I did not do them every day, you know, but the frequency gradually increased, and before you know it, well, there I was, buying packs of cigarettes and smoking multiple cigarettes a day. You know, upwards, depending on what I was going through in life, upwards of 15 cigarettes a day. I'm not saying every day I was smoking 15, but I'm saying upwards of 15. And yeah, and that went on for a good 4 years, and as time went on, I became more and more tolerant of the toxins, and guess what? That coughing stopped. I no longer coughed. I would have, you know, the occasional coughs, and it wasn't usually when I smoked. Maybe it was, you know, midway through the day or something, you know, but I no longer coughed after smoking. I no longer had these violent reactions going on, because my body, my very intelligent body, has developed a tolerance for that. Now, hold on, isn't that a good thing, Saeed, right? You know, you just said my intelligent body developed a tolerance to it. So isn't that a good thing? You know, maybe now that cigarettes aren't affecting you as bad. Well, we know that's not true, because of how many people get lung cancer and heart disease and all kinds of smoking related issues later on in the after 20, 30, 40 years of smoking. So we know that's not true. We know that it's not suddenly less toxic to my body. We know that's not true. Okay? But Why did I say my intelligent body? A, because it is very intelligent. B, because the body, from the body's perspective, I want to prolong and make your life as pleasant as I can for as long as possible. So the body has ways of numbing the pain through the release of endorphins, right? I broke my wrist. You see this scar over here? I broke my wrist and I got surgeries on it, but it took me a year and a half, I think, about a year and a half to get surgeries. Why? Because for a year and a half, by the way, I had a broken wrist and I was boxing and I was working out with weights, heavy weights. Why? Because after the first 2 months or 3 months, my body began to numb the pain, and I'm like, I'm mistaking this for healing. And what happened is my body was still healing. I went too early into the gym, and unfortunately my wrist never got to heal and it stayed broken. But my body kept numbing the pain because the body wants to make life as pleasant as possible for it's the host. You're the guest, you're the soul, the host in the vehicle, in this gift. It wants to make life as pleasant as possible for you and as prolonged as possible. So that's the same thing it did for me when I smoked. It began to numb. Excuse me, we've got some nasty mucus. I'm having lots of mucus coming out these days due to the cleansing lifestyle that I'm on. I am staggered by the amount of mucus that's coming out of me and my sinuses. I've had problems with sinuses for a long time. I'm gonna make a separate video for that. Anyway, so my body did that when I was smoking. It numbed the pain. It sort of, it increased its tolerance for the toxins, and it figured out ways to just simply store the toxins. In the beginning, when I would take my first few puffs of the cigarette, my body immediately would release the toxins into the bloodstream and get rid of them. But as time went on, it's like the body's like, this stupid ass idiot is just putting way too many toxins here. I can't handle them right now. So it figures out, with its infinite intelligence, it figures out ways to just simply like put them on the side, just store them. Just like, all right, so you don't really feel the effects of these toxins as much because they're not all being released into your bloodstream. Certainly not all at once when you're in the beginning stages of smoking. So you're more tolerant simply because your body is this massive warehouse, and when the body has to, it begins to store these toxins. But when you get to your 40s, 50s, and 60s, the body says enough is enough, and then you have disease, you have a big disease, lung cancer or something. That's the body's way of trying to flush out the toxicity. Flus, that's like that. A flu is just simply an accumulation of toxicity. The body says, well, okay, you're a stupid idiot. I'm gonna put you in bed, and we're gonna release this accumulation of toxins. But while you're smoking and you don't have the flu, the body's just storing them. You're less sensitive, and your body figured out ways also like releases endorphins to numb the pain. So that makes smoking all the more addictive, and all these nasty habits that we get into, because the body becomes more tolerant. It begins to produce endorphins. We get addicted to the endorphins because it's feel-good chemicals, because the body's trying to numb the pain. It really loves you. It wants to make life as pleasant and as prolonged for you as possible. And we put it through so much abuse, and miraculously it still somehow goes to 70, 80. But really it's supposed to go to like hundreds of years. Okay, so anything less than a few hundred years is just, it's dying way too early. So tolerance, then hopefully I demonstrated to you through various different examples here that tolerance does not mean strength. Okay, it doesn't mean suddenly because you're more tolerant to the cigarette, you're not coughing, your body isn't acting violently, does not mean you're stronger. It does not mean you're stronger. No, it doesn't. Actually, it means you're weaker. It means you're less sensitive to toxicity. It means you're weaker. That's what it means. That's what it means. See, this adaptability. We're the most adaptable creature on this plane because we're the most evolved spiritually and physically. And so, because due to the spiritual evolution of a human soul, it takes on the most evolved creature, the most evolved organism on this plane. And so we have developed this supreme adaptability. We can live anywhere, even though we're tropical beings, whereas polar bears can't get out of the Arctic environment because they'll die. We figured out ways. We're very intelligent, very evolved, very adaptable. And that's our greatest blessing and our greatest curse. In this particular case, it happens to be both, I guess, because if you make bad choices in life, at least your body is giving you the chance to do what you can with those bad decisions. In a way, it's a blessing, but it's a curse ultimately, really. It's more of a curse in this case because it gives you the illusion that you're stronger. It gives you the illusion that, you're okay, but really, like, you're 50 and now you have a heart attack or you have a stroke or something. So that tolerance is weakness. It isn't strength. Tolerance to toxicity, to toxins, is weakness, not strength. Okay, get that in your head because it's very easy to think otherwise. And when you partake in the path of righteousness, and when I mean righteousness, don't mistake this for some kind of a pretentious, self-righteousness. I know it's the same word of like, I'm better because I'm doing this. No. Righteousness simply means harmonious, the path of harmony. And what is the path of harmony, you may ask, right? Well, I'm going to give you my opinion, but in my opinion, it isn't just an opinion, it's a fact. It is the aligning of your highly evolved vehicle with what it is primarily designed to consume. And what is that? That is fruits and some vegetables in small quantities. What I mean by small quantities, because we are so evolved and we can extract so much energy. See, we've been lied to. We can extract so much energy from the air, from the sun, that actually our need to eat is very little. Okay? So basically, the path of harmony for the human vehicle is the path of eating little, fasting, and eating primarily raw fruits and some suitable vegetables for the human body. Can the human body tolerate other things? Yes, but again, it is lowering itself to tolerate them. See, I think there is a reason when people go on a really prolonged fast. I think this is a good thing for you to consider. I think there is a reason when people, anybody, doesn't matter what their diet philosophy is, when they get on a really long, prolonged water fast, say 21 days, upwards of 21 days and more, that everybody virtually knows to break your fast with what? With high water content fruits. Anybody, regardless of your diet, I mean, people of all walks of life do prolonged water fasting. But I think everyone knows that you must break it with high water content fruits. Why? Because if you break it with other things like eggs, I know this vegetable police broke his 21 water fast with eggs, raw eggs. He went to the hospital. He almost died. Okay? Why? Because your body's so sensitive in that state. It's incredibly sensitive to what's happening. That if you put toxins in it, like eggs, meat, dairy, you could potentially die. Because your body's so sensitive and you're in such a sensitive state. So everyone knows, if you go on a 21-day water fast, 40-day water fast, you break it with nothing but watery fruits. Watermelon, cantaloupes, papaya. Your body knows, you know. That's the inner knowing, the inner intuition in you. And many people almost died, if not died, breaking a really prolonged water fast. It doesn't happen to everybody, but you know, it's pretty frequently happens where people like their life is at risk. Because why? Your body is at the highest level of sensitivity. It has very low tolerance. At that point, whatever toxicity you put in, right away it releases it to the bloodstream and wants to get rid of it. It knows, your body knows, very intelligent. So in that very highly sensitive state, you could put your life at risk. And I'm not saying it happens to everybody, but you could put your life at risk if you put in very toxic substances in the body. But then what happens, if you do it right, if you break your fast right, you eat some high water content fruits for a few days, then you add in some steamed vegetables, you go a little denser, maybe add some grains, some starches, and then off you go. Add your eggs, add your meat, your body's building tolerance to the toxicity, building and building and building. First you introduce basic cooked foods. Cooked foods are toxins that, your body, your white blood cell count goes up, you have an immune response, inflammatory response to anything cooked you eat. And I'm going to share with you guys Pottinger's, I think his name is Pottinger's Cats experiment. Amazing. Shows you the detrimental effects of cooking foods. I'll share it in another video. But anyway, and then your body begins to develop the tolerance, and then and then you're a smoker. Same thing as smoking. Okay, but in the beginning, when you're on a prolonged water fast and you put in something that's not supposed to be there, you have a violent reaction. Like a violent reaction. Of course you can have a violent reaction. Everyone knows you break it with high water content fruits. Why? Because that's actually what's designed for this amazing vehicle here. Every species has something specific for it, right? Lions are carnivores. Cats, felines, they're carnivores, right? If you got a cat, don't feed it raw meat. Yeah, feed it raw meat. That's what it's designed for. And yeah, this highly intelligent vehicle, because it's highly intelligent, it develops tolerances to these highly toxic substances. Okay? But yeah, everyone knows you go on a prolonged water fast, you break it with a high water content fruit. Nothing bad's gonna happen to you that way because you're putting in substances that this body is designed for. Okay? Tolerance does not equal strength. Tolerance equals weakness, lowered sensitivity to toxicity. When your body is highly efficient, highly clean, when you put something toxic in, the body immediately releases the toxins to the bloodstream and you feel terrible immediately. Because the body is very efficient, says, I do not tolerate any toxicity. But when it's highly compromised, the body just gets in the habit of storing toxins, and numbing you, and secreting endorphins and pain-suppressing hormones. So you can tolerate life, so it can give you the most amount of days, the most amount of years before it collapses due to an accumulation of toxicity, essentially. Okay? So yeah, hopefully I got that message across your head. I think just think of smoking, or think of any bad habit you indulged in, anything, and think of how you felt in the very beginning stages. Like if you're, let's say, a pot smoker, you're always smoking pot, and when you first did it, you were buzzed, like it almost felt like a psychedelic experience, right? But as you did more and more of it, your body just became developed a tolerance to this. Okay, it just developed. I mean, smoking, don't smoke. Smoking is it's terrible. It's just terrible. It's one of the worst things you could do to yourself. Okay, and your lungs just kind of adapted. And think of anything really. Why do you think children are fed blended fruits when they're starting to eat? Because everyone knows this. Parents know this intuitively. We all know this. The truth is inside of us. We all know this. We all know that is the physical fuel to the human body. And then what happens is the human begins to, again, slowly and gradually develop tolerance for toxicity. So first, you're given blended fruits and then blended vegetables. Before you know it, your mom starts to cook you some vegetables, just very basic, then starts to put some toxic spices on them, toxic herbs and spices on them. Before you know it, you're given a little piece of chicken, a few eggs, some pasteurized milk, and off you go, body gradually developing the tolerance to the toxicity. And yeah, So we're being robbed here, dying from degenerate diseases at 70, 80. You know, we're supposed to be dying when we want to. We have a conscious death, what is called in Hinduism Mahasamadhi. We're supposed to leave our bodies very consciously. We're supposed to make the transition very consciously in very healthy bodies. That's how the death process should go for this highly intelligent, highly evolved organism of human. But yeah, the matrix has been hijacked. Okay, and yeah. All right, so I think you know, that's good. I expressed what I wanted to express. If you have $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7 million laying around, I'll gladly take them off your hands if you would like to, you know, donate them. So I have a link down below in the description for donations. I appreciate anything, and I do consultations one-on-one. If you want to book a call, there is links down below in the description. Everything is in the description, and I will see you guys in the next video.